we have a little segment on the podcast we call More About Less, where we read something as a jump-off point. Sometimes it's an article or a tweet. So I brought in this article from scarymommy.com, my favorite dating site.
Hey, I'm going to get a G.K. Chesterton quote in before you quote Eckhart Tolle, so we can keep our priorities in order. But
this is perfect because we're all pronouncing his name three different ways.
I think it's Eckhart Tolle, right? I thought it was
Eckhart Tolle.
Tolle? Okay, then I'm the odd man out. I should verify this.
But I say Tolle, so
okay.
But thankfully there is no right or wrong, so we're good.
The GK quote, and this captures kind of where I stand on like the beliefs, the opinions, the good, bad. He says, "The purpose of an open mind is that of an open mouth, and it is to chew upon something solid." An old philosophy professor of mine, Timothy McGrew, he used to always say, keep an active mind rather than a passive mind. And I tend to like that a little bit better than open or closed, because
I like that too, yeah.
I'm not open to everything.
Yep.
And I'm not closed to everything. But I choose to be active about it all. I choose to think critically and creatively about it all. But at the end of the day, I want to close my mouth and my mind on something substantial and chew on it.
Yeah, you don't want it to be porous. So let me get to this article here. I'm just going to read a few of them, and maybe we can agree or we can disagree on them. I'd like that too. So this is 100 plus Eckhart Tolle /Tolle/Toll quotes that will seriously enlighten you, which is a bit hyperbolic there. I'm not going to read the whole article. We'll put a link to it in the show notes, but here are a few of the quotes. We'll start with the first one here. The past has no power over the present. Well, TK, you and I often say, you talk to me about this. You've never said it on the podcast, but how any of these little minimal maxims, these little profundities, these bromides that we toss about, they can be simultaneously true and radically untrue at the same time.
Yeah, I believe that every statement, no matter how much you love it, no matter how logical it is, can be made to sound absolutely ridiculous if you easily interpret it in a certain way. One day we should do a test where I can prove this. You give me any statement and I can show you how someone can interpret that in a way that makes it sound ridiculous.
Let's do it right now.
But a better test that you can take it home is just put it on Twitter and 20 people will show you.
All right, so the past has no power over the present moment. Well, in everyday practical life, that's certainly not true.
Yeah.
Because we stay stuck in the past. Now, of course, the past exists only in the present moment because there is no past in that respect. And I'm sure that's what he means. So
right. That's where you have to get curious, right? What does he mean? Because if I went up to Eckhart Tolle and was like, well, that's stupid because I have a cousin who's still living in the past today. Is Eckhart Tolle going to go, oh, bro, you blew my mind. I never thought about that. He'll probably say, yeah, I know people too who are in some meaningful sense stuck in the past. But let's go a little bit deeper.
Ruslan, here's another one for you. Some changes look negative on the surface, but you will soon realize that space is being created in your life for something new to emerge. Well, it seems like a bit on the a new take on that Chinese farmer parable in a way. Sometimes the worst things that happen to us, the worst suffering, ends up being the thing we're most grateful for.
Yeah, that's I like that quote. It's a good quote. Yeah. So, no discipline seems enjoyable in the moment, but then it leads to harvest. As the New Testament, Old Testament. I think that's in Proverbs. Yeah. So yeah, he's copying the Bible.
Let's jump around here. So let's see. Sometimes letting things go is an act of far greater power than defending or hanging on. Well, as the minimalist, it's pretty
Am I the only one that thinks these are just like all super fake deep quotes? Like, the skin is the skin until the skin leaves its body, and then it is no longer one with the skin. Like,
well, so I'll play angel's advocate with that.
Well, hold on real quick. Go ahead. We call those faux fundities, where someone's...
Faux fundities. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to use that.
It sounds profound at first, and then you listen again, and you're like, whoa, that doesn't make any sense. My daughter makes these up all the time. She has a great Twitter account. It's not her account, but we just like tweet the craziest shit that she says. And and she's full of faux fundities. She looked at me earlier this year and she goes, "Is the 4th of July on the 4th of July this year?"
So, angel's advocate. First, a faux fundity is something that actually has no meaning. You're pretending to be saying something that has no meaning. That's not the concern or criticism here. And I hear this comes up a lot, which is why I'm going to play angel's advocate with it. The concern here is like, okay, I get what the brother's saying. but does it even need to be said?
Right.
It's like so basic and so obvious. I get that. But I also work with elementary school students and high school students. And one of the things they have taught me and they continue to teach me is that obviousness is relative to the hearer, right? Because when we listen to something and we go, okay, does that even need to be said? We're bringing a whole lot of life experience and a whole lot of accumulated wisdom into the moment. And so when someone says, hey man, sometimes working hard is a good thing, it sounds laughably obvious. But believe it or not, just like there are people every year who are born who need to be taught how to pronounce the words of the alphabet, there are thousands of people out there, millions of people who will hear that for the first time today. And they'll go, wow, that's really profound. And some people will hear it just because it came from you or just because it came from their brother. And so we can never say the obvious truths too much, because as angry as someone will get on Twitter for you daring to say something that they already knew, God forbid, there are always people out there who don't know it and who need to hear it from you. So I am a defender of stating obvious truths to every generation, because there are people born every day for whom those truths aren't obvious. If it's true, say it.
I love that. Let me just add something to this. And this may be controversial, and
go for it.
You guys may not like me for this, but I think the deeper issue, in my opinion, is that there's this spectrum between postmodernism, where there is no objective reality and everything is your truth versus my truth and your reality. And then there's the other end of the spectrum of like radical fundamentalism from a religious mindset. And I think, I would say Jesus and the scriptures are going to lean more towards, hey, there's objective reality, there's absolute truth, there's morals, there's right and wrong. And I think the issue with someone like an Eckhart Tolle is that he's taking ancient truths that we've known. Like you said the thing, and I was like, oh yeah, I think that's a proverb, right? And it's being repackaged to a postmodern world where people don't want objective prescriptions. They don't want objective realities. They don't want to be told what is right and wrong. They want to live their truth in their reality. And I think that to me is the deeper underlying issue of why he's even so popular. Yeah. Of how Kendrick goes from, I'm baptized, I'm going to church, I'm trying to marry my kid's mother, to faux realities. What did you call them?
Profundities.
Profundities. I'm going to kind of weasel my way out of whatever I don't really feel like doing in the moment because it's not conducive to how I feel about my reality. And so again, I don't mean to get super controversial, but this super duper postmodern, you are your truth, whatever you feel is real, flesh that out to its logical conclusion and some of the stuff that's happening in society right now. And there's some wonky stuff happening based on this, whatever floats your boat, bro. Just do you and your truth. And so I think that's the deeper issue with the New Ageism. And why is Eckhart Tolle all of a sudden an authority? Oh, it's because people really don't want to deal with some of the objective ancient truths we've had all along, in my opinion.
Did you enjoy this standalone Patreon highlight? If so, you can listen to full episodes of the Minimalists private podcast available exclusively on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/theminimalists or click the link in the description. Your support keeps our podcast and YouTube channel 100% advertisement free.